Our first review update is going to be for House of the Dragon Season 2. We reviewed all of Season 1. People can check that out on YouTube, youtube.com. Just type in the afternoon tune and you can listen to what we thought about House of the Dragon. House of the Dragon is the spinoff series, or I guess, yeah, you could say spinoff series of the Game of Thrones
Mhm.
show there, which ended a few years back, about several years back, which is this series is focusing on House Targaryen, hundreds of years
Mhm.
before the story of Game of Thrones and where that takes place. Here it's focusing on two groups. You have the blacks and the greens. That's kind of separated.
Mhm.
People who, and the kind of the fall of House Targaryen, as we'll see throughout this series as
Mhm.
well. And this is based on
Yeah,
a
it's
series of
like
books.
yeah, because this is based on a 2018 book written by George R. R. Martin called Fire and Blood, and that was basically the family history of House Targaryen, based from when Aegon the Conqueror flew to Westeros and conquered the Seven Kingdoms to about 200 years before the beginning of Game of Thrones.
Mm, yeah. And we very much liked season 1 of House of the Dragon. I very much liked it
Mhm.
quite a bit.
Yeah,
I thought it was really good.
it felt like it. Yeah, same. It felt like it brought the spectacle of the latter seasons of Game of Thrones, but still had that writing of those early seasons. Still had that political intrigue, that great dialogue, those fantastic performances from its entire cast. Even with kind of the midway point of the first season of that show, where you swapped out two of our main actors with Emma Darcy taking over for Millie Alcott as Rhaenyra, and Olivia Cook taking over for Emily Carey as Alicent. It was seamless. It was a time jump that was seamless, where that would have been like this show probably kind of is falling off at this point.
Yeah. So you had that in season 1. Like I said, we liked it quite a bit. Thought it was very good what it did. Brought back interest in the Game of Thrones franchise after the
Mhm.
terrible kind of last couple of seasons of
Yeah.
Game of Thrones.
Yeah, everyone was kind of talking shit about it, and then the premiere of it dropped. It was like, yo, this is actually pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, they had one of the highest premieres on HBO when the
Mhm.
first season came out, first episode. So yeah, re-sparked kind of that interest again in Game of Thrones and Game of Thrones kind of like stuff there. And they're planning on doing another spinoff with the Game of Thrones franchise pretty
Mhm.
soon. That's going to be coming out. But if you watch season 1, it's going to be spoiler review. It's going to be a spoiler
Mhm.
for season 1. So if you haven't seen season 1, then I recommend checking out. But we have to talk about
Mhm.
season 1 and the events there to discuss the setup of season 2 and kind of things that are going on there. So if you remember season 1, if people remember that, you remember the kind of tragic incident that happened at the end of season 1 where
Mhm.
Rhaenyra's son, what was his name?
Yeah, her son
Lysair.
Lucerys Velaryon, who was killed by his
Damon.
uncle.
Uh, you, Nick? What'd you say? You kind of froze there. What'd you say?
Yep, I'm
Yeah.
back.
Yeah, Damon, who's killed by Damon
Yeah,
there.
it was Lucerys who. No, he was killed by Aemond.
Aemon, I'm sorry,
Yeah,
Aemon, yeah.
Aemond, who's played by Ewan Mitchell.
Sorry.
Played by Ewan Mitchell, who was if you've seen him before, he was the kind of weird kid in Saltburn, the one
Yeah,
that wasn't Barry Cohen.
yeah. Sorry about the name. I mean, these people got the same names, and they got names that are kinda mixed around. Damon, Aemond, that you got, Aegon, Jacaerys, 2 Jacaeryses here. It's like, okay.
Yeah, they got dude, the Targaryen naming conventions are messy as shit. I mean, by the time we get to Game of Thrones, Jon Snow's real name is Aegon the Sixth.
Yeah, so there's a lot of Aegons, a lot of Jacaeryses, a lot of that kind of going on. So after that incident, I mean, because in the first season it was kind of like, okay,
Mhm.
the claim to the throne. That's the big thing. That's the big civil war that's
Mhm.
going on, and what's divided the sides. You have the blacks and the greens. The greens are with the high towers, who believe that Aegon Viserys on his deathbed said that Aegon, who is his son, is the one that's supposed to be the
Mhm.
throne, even though we see throughout the series, throughout the event of season one, before his death, Viserys was like promising Rhaenyra, because that was his only child,
Mhm.
that you would be the one that would be given the throne. That very much a lot of people were angered about, because obviously she's a woman. It's supposed to go to a male
Mhm.
heir. That's how he came into power, because that's how he came in. I mean, because
Mhm.
he skipped over what's that actress's name? What's the character name? He skipped over
Eve Best, who played Rhaenys.
Rhaenys, who she was the one that was the sibling.
Eve Best, who plays Princess Rhaenys.
She was the daughter of the
Yeah, she was
former
the
king.
eldest child of the eldest child of King Jaehaerys the First.
Yeah, another Jaehaerys there. So he was the very first one. So she was the eldest of him. So you would think, I mean, following the natural thing, but she would kind of come into power, but he skipped over her because he's a male, and then you have to have a male that kind of takes over the Iron Throne. So this kind of breaks down there a big kind of civil war of like, no, he said this at his deathbed, but no, he promised me this, and we're gonna start a war. And it's further, and that's really the thing when Rhaenyra's son dies that really sets things off of like, yeah, okay, now it's fucking war. You
Mhm.
know what I mean? You kill my son. And then you see in the very first episode of season two, you see where Damon enacts a plan to kind of get revenge for the death of her son there.
Mhm.
What kind of your thoughts about this season 2 so far, the 3 episodes?
So far with the 3 episodes that we've gotten, I was a little bit worried coming into season 2 because a lot of this was shot during the height of the WGA strike. So a lot of the writers weren't able to be on set to provide, corrections, do little tweaks and edits to the scripts there. And also in between the first and second season, one of the showrunners, Miguel Sapochnik, who alongside Ryan Condal were the showrunners in the first season, and Sapochnik left. So now the sole duties are just with Ryan Condal. And Sapochnik, he's directed on Game of Thrones before. He directed episodes like Hard Home, like Battle of the Bastards, and he directed the season 6 episode Winds of Winter, which I think was the finale of that episode of that season. Um, and with all of that, and when this first episode dropped, all of my concerns were washed away instantly. It's like the performances, they are as good as they've ever been. You get to see how the dynamic changes with the Aegon on the throne, and we get to see the absolute horrors that this civil war will inflict, including in the very first episode, this very tragic incident where Damon, in his quest to get revenge, he hires like 2 people inside King's Landing to assassinate Aemon Targaryen. And something that I was really taken aback by was they asked, it's like, okay, what if we can't find him? And the scene just cuts.
Yeah. So yeah, he paid these 2 guys, Ratcatcher,
Yeah.
and
Who are in the books are just known as Blood and Cheese.
yeah. He hires these 2 people to assassinate, Aemon. They didn't, they didn't find him, so I guess the next best thing is like, okay, we're gonna kill, the little boy,
Mhm.
there, the
Yeah,
son of Aegon,
son for a son.
son of Aegon, that he has with his sister wife. The sister wife, what's her name? It's,
Helena Targaryen.
Helena, there, his sister wife there, Helena, who kind of has some version of precognition to a
Mhm.
degree. There, we kind of get little touches of her every now and then. She's a little peculiar, a little odd, a little
Mhm.
strange that we kind of see her there. But yeah, they force her to choose which son she wants, which child she wants to have them kill, because they can't tell the difference there
Mhm.
between the two. And they ask her to point out who the son is, and they kill the son there. You can see that. Yeah, I mean, so you don't think there's any drop off between season one so far? You see, like, you don't notice any kind of big difference quality wise?
So far, quality wise, it's pretty consistent. It's like we talked about this last night when we were talking about the Acolyte, where we're in this month of June where we have so much great TV. We have House of the Dragon, we have The Bear coming back, we have My Adventure with Superman, And all of these shows are like appointment viewing. Is second I see a new episode dropping, I'm tuning in. I'm watching it with my partner or without her. Don't tell her that. But they are top of my list. And every time House of the Dragon, it is appointment viewing. And the quality has been consistent. And even into the second episode, Rhaenyra the Cruel, it has, to me at least, it's one of the best episodes of this world of Westeros that I've seen. Just from how much great acting we get from our entire main cast, and how great the dialogue is, how great the performances and the emotion that drives the scene, and these questions of uh, what is right for Westeros, and a little bit of seeing comeuppance with Otto Hightower, realizing that, oh my god, the guy I backed is a fucking idiot.
Well, I think he always knew he was an idiot. I just think he thought he could control the idiot. And really great Otto Hightower played by Reese Ifans here, who's really fantastic. So a lot of it,
yeah, and that's my favorite thing in the second episode, because you see like the line between family and duty.
Mm.
And with him, it's like, oh my god, one of the babies is dead. And it's like, as a grandfather, I wanted vengeance, but as their manager,
I mean,
like puts a public processions, like parade the corpse of that child in the streets.
It's also very interesting to see the way kind of things play out, as far as even before we're not at full blown war yet.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of it is still kind of like who's going to make the first move, who's going to, first of all, it's about raising the armies first. Them going around trying to collect support. We see in this third episodes, like there's a between the was it the Blackwoods?
The Brackens and the Blackwoods, which are two houses in the Riverlands that have been basically feuding for the centuries. It's kind of like a Hatfields and McCoys situation.
Yeah,
it's gone on so long that even they don't really know what started the feud.
And then you have the number one Rhaenyra simp right here. He's just like, I stand for my queen. Like what I mean, number one loyalist right there.
Hey, the man wanted all the smoke, and I give him respect for that.
Yeah, and it just, you see the next scene and it cuts, and then you just see all these bodies just kind of laid out, and you see kind of the consequence of war and what that is, and you see that Rhaenyra, she's trying her best to avoid this all out war. And really trying her best to avoid this, and you see that, and you also see with Allison, at the time, you see them at the first season growing up, best friends, growing up together, such a close relationship, and how much they've grown apart, but they do still care for each other. You see that in this third episode where they kind of meet each other there. But before I get too much into the third episode, I want to get to talk about a little bit about the second episode and kind of what happened there. Just dealing with the aftermath of Jacaerys being killed. You see kind of how Aegon is so distraught. Do you think that that is kind of lead to his poor decision making and kind of going to lead down that path there?
Oh, absolutely. Aegon the Second was never the most like sane or stable person. It was like, even in the first season, we got so many like red flags of, yeah, this guy is not the person who should be king. He's a drunk, he's a rapist, he regularly frequents the child fighting pits. He's probably not the guy you want as the king.
Yeah.
And even in the first episode where he is like sitting the throne, he's like, it's like a different side to him. He is like, he wants to be a good king. He's like trying his best to appease the small folk, but he doesn't really think.
Yeah. Probably you'd say, because you see in the first season, running away from his responsibility from being king there. And he even at one time even offered his brother, it's like, I'll go away and you get to be king and you get to have it. Clearly,
and Aemon was thinking about it, and he would have done it if Cole wasn't like in the room with him.
Yeah. I think people talk about this show, and it's like some people say that I don't have a person I really truly hate. Not much as like in Game of Thrones, with like Joffrey, you had him, you had
you had Joffrey, you had Ramsay Bolton, you had Cersei, And in this show, you got Kristen fucking Cole.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. I mean, Kristen Cole seems like the guy that everybody really hates. Even at a Aegon, even maybe at a Allison. So Kristen Cole is the person that really is everybody's kind of hating on.
It's
And
like
then even
I hate the way that you walk, the way that you talk. I hate the way that you dress.
and the actor had to like limit his comments on
Yeah, and
Instagram.
yeah, that's always a shame to hear about because it's never the actor's fault. It's always the the script they're given and the character that they play. And Fabian Frankel, he is awesome as Kristen Cole.
Mm, yeah, and he's very good in this role. You see that his relationship with Allison has continued.
Mhm.
You see multiple moments of when they're having sex, even when the kid was being slaughtered. Allison and him were getting it on, and Helena ran in.
Yeah, and it adds so much to I think to Cole as a character and to Allison. It's like, if I wasn't fucking your mother, I might have, had guards posted to protect the prince.
Mm, yeah. What do you think about his character and kind of his ideology throughout this series? What do you think his path is here?
Oh, his path is, hopefully a very fiery grave because I because this man embodies basically everything I hate about a person. He's a hypocrite, he's self-righteous, he's a fucking monster because, Rhaenyra didn't want to leave her place as the heir to the Iron Throne to go be poor and sell oranges.
Hmm. I mean, hey,
And has
I mean,
held that grudge for like 40 years.
isn't that somewhat of a better
Yeah, he
alternative to what's going on now?
he didn't want to be Rhaenyra's side piece, but he's perfectly happy being Alicent's.
Uh, uh, it's interesting to see. I think he's kind of got a little bit of I'd say most kind of interesting kind of stuff going on,
Mhm,
just like character wise, of like
mhm,
he's got this sense of duty, but also kind of this burden of honor and what it
mhm,
means to be honorable and what he's trying to be honorable
mhm.
to.
Yeah,
Uh,
he's a character that I think Martin really wanted to delve into when it came to Game of Thrones because when you look back at the first season of the show and the first book, your entire like preconceived notions about what fantasy storytelling is that Ned Stark, who is like the most honorable character in the entire world, the character that you're going to follow for the entire show. And in Game of Thrones, it deconstructs that and adds like real world politics and backstabbing and puts him into a world where honor and to a fault is not a good thing. And with Kristen Cole, you kind of get the opposite of that, where you have a character who was really devout to his vows and really wanted to uphold that honor and is just living in King's Landing with all of this shenanigans that comes with playing the Game of Thrones, is just slowly and slowly getting more and more corrupted by it.
Yeah, because at first he broke his vow of
Uh-huh.
chastity with, Meliakat, who kinda I mean, pushed him kinda into it a little bit there,
Mhm.
and, maybe that was the start of that downward kinda spiral there of,
Mhm.
that and he sees himself as a pretender every time he puts on his
Mhm.
uniform, being part of the watch, the King's Guard there.
Mhm.
So I think it's always a lot of great interesting stuff with him kinda going on, in the show. Allison, you have her and kind of having more of a little bit of position on the council.
Mhm.
Where do you think she is at this point in season 2?
At this point, I think feel like she's kind of at this place where she's carried this hatred for Rhaenyra so long because Rhaenyra was basically, free to, pursue her own desires, whereas she was basically wed off as a child to a man who was slowly dying basically every minute they were together,
Yeah.
and has just been so conditioned by the dynamic between her and her father that she is basically completely devoid of the ability to connect with any of her children. It's like
Mm.
even in the second episode where she like runs into Aegon, who's like tear sobbing over the death of his son, and she just leaves him to go sleep with Cole again. Versus earlier in the episode, we see earlier in the first episode, excuse me, we see Rhaenyra getting briefed by Jacaerys, who's her eldest son. And he's like trying to give his brief of his tasks, the allies that he's managed to gather, and he starts breaking down over the death of his brother, and immediately Rhaenyra just moves to comfort him.
Mm. You think Rhaenyra is a better mother than Alice?
Yeah, I mean, I mean, I say that because one that Rhaenyra, with her children, she always felt like she was raising them with love. She was raising them kind of in the same way that in Dune, Duke Leto raised Paul. It's like, everyone has, leadership is like something that you're called to. And, if your answer is no, then you'll still be my son. The only thing I ever needed you to be. Versus Allison, who has just conditioned her children to just be, props for power.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, I think Allison's obviously in a different in a difficult position, given where she is, given like especially now that this thing is fully started, and then the idea that was kind of put into her head by her father that you know, if Rhaenyra gets into power, she's going to kill you, and she's going to kill your children, and there's going to be this great threat to you. You do have all that kind of like this seed that kind of got planted in her head there by her father, which I think is I think part of the reason why.
Yeah, and that entire scene inside the Sept of Baelor is brilliant. It's those two just trying to, come together and try to avoid the war. And Allison finally realizes that, maybe the ramblings of a man who is like deep into Alzheimer's is not the most reliable thing.
Yeah, what they call that drink that they give them?
Milk of the Poppy, who's
milk of the.
Yeah, who was rolling off his ass and basically, a walking corpse.
Yeah, so you had this moment in the latest episode, and then somebody says both of them realizing that all this snowballed into now because Allison got the wrong Aegon there, and this is like a brilliant look. Like you could just tell her look on her.
Yeah, it's like you can't tell me that House of the Dragon isn't a comedy.
Yeah, I mean, that's the saddest thing is like all this was like a big misunderstanding of what happened of her, the last words she heard from Viserys and then of what he spoke. At first, so Rhaenyra in this last episode, she goes to Allison, she sneaks into King's Landing, goes to a secret, goes to basically a secret meeting with Allison to talk to her, to try to get her to kind of call this war off, last ditch effort. Because she truly, truly does not want to see a war happen because she knows of all the death and destruction it can bring. Since they also have dragons involved, that's also another thing, And then we remember what happened. They remember what happened last time in history of all these dragons and destruction and fire and all fire and brimstone. So it's like let's try to avoid.
When Aegon conquered the Seven Kingdoms, millions died.
So let's try to avoid that as much as possible. And then here you see in this scene is where they're talking and it's like truly are you saying that that's what he said on his deathbed? And she said, "Swear on my mother that's what happened." And then Al says he said he said that Aegon, the prince who was promised, and then that's what clicks in Rhaenyra.
Oh God damn it!
The Song of Ice and Fire. The great story, the story that Game of Thrones is all about. Who we knew to be Jon Snow. There,
well, who was supposed to be Jon Snow, but then season 8 happened.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. So we see that there, but yeah, so it's like Aegon, the prince who was promised, is not Aegon now.
No, it's not your dumbass alcoholic rapist son.
And you get just that look on her face there of realization is great, and she doesn't know anything about the Song of Ice and Fire. Allison doesn't, and Rhaenyra knows all about it because her father would tell that story often. And I don't know if Viserys was a kind of somewhat seen that he kind of have like a little bit of precognition, or he would have sometimes dreams. It seemed like he would talk about his dreams.
Yeah, it's like a lot of the Targaryens kind of have precognition to a very like small extent. I mean, it's not like they can actually see the future. It's like they get vibes from things.
Yeah, like that's very much with Helena, as we mentioned before. she says kind of weird, offhanded things. Like even
Mhm.
before, like early in the episode of season. In episode 2 of the season, she says like the rats. You know what I mean? Got to get the
Mhm.
rats. And then you see the rat catchers kind of come in, and then what they do. So yeah, some of the Targaryens kind of have somewhat of precognition, a little bit of that ability to a degree there. So Viserys, he would have these dreams, and then the dreams of the songs of ice and fire, and the one Targaryen that would unite the realms and do that. So that kind of comes in there. But now, it's basically after this, it's like, well, it's shit. It's too late now. I was thinking like shit is.
Shit.
It,
Well,
yeah, things are just in motion now. Let's
yeah,
say
like
you.
you could have negotiated peace after Lucerys died. Once you throw a dead baby in the mix, it's like, yeah, we got to fight a war now.
Yeah, even if let's say the baby didn't die. Let's say they
Uh-huh.
even go before. Do you think there? That's kind of uneasy to be around people that killed your son. Do you think they still would have found peace there?
Eh, possibly.
Because the deal that she was striking was still for her to be queen, and then for
Mhm.
the other family to step down. So, I mean, that's still the deal she was kinda offering there.
Mhm.
But, even after all that, I was like, I don't know how you come back from that. Uh, even after I appreciate the effort from Rhaenyra. I appreciate that, but I was like, yeah, I don't see how you can kinda come back from that one. Uh, do you think people talk. I see a lot of people team Black. A lot of people team
Uh-huh.
Rhaenyra, and kind of her and what she's kind of go through. What do you think about Rhaenyra so far? These 3 episodes.
In these 3 episodes, I feel like Rhaenyra not only has one, the rightful claim to the throne, two, she is shown to be like a merciful queen, somebody who is just and heeds the wisdom of her council and is doing everything she can to avoid a war and avoid innocent bloodshed.
Mm, yeah.
Whether or not the rest of her council feels the same way, but something that I think is a good indication is how she handled Massaria in the second and third episode, because she could easily have reneged on Damon's promise, to grant her freedom in order to get into the castle, but she didn't. She let Massaria go, and of her own accord, Massaria turned back as she was like fleeing and warned them of Prince of Sir Eric coming to kill Rhaenyra.
Mm, yeah. So I thought that was very good there, and she was kind of the master of whispers for kind of Damon
Mhm.
there, and also for Otto Hightower. She was there working in kind of King's Landing, and she got betrayed by the Hightowers,
Mhm.
which kind of leads her to kind of go like, "Well, I'm kind of backing you now because they betrayed me. They got a lot of people I knew killed." And I do like that actress quite a bit. I do like her.
Sonoya Mizuno, who is a frequent collaborator with Alex Garland. She's been in all of his movies.
Oh, she was the robot in
She was the robot in Ex
Ex Machina.
Machina.
Oh, she was she was the one in the dance. Oh yeah, that shit's funny. I like. Oh man, that shit's funny. Okay. Oh, all right. Yeah. Oh, I didn't. Wow. But oh, awesome. So yeah, I like her. I thought she was pretty good. And I think she's really good in this. And yeah, like I said, she's the one making a lot of great decisions here. But you see that a lot of these are held down by other kind of these outside forces. Rhaenyra is very much held down by
Hmm.
Damon and kind of his brash decisions and
Mhm.
his rash decisions there and what he's kind of doing. Him ordering the death of the baby. Well, he didn't order the death of the baby. It's just like you hiring these two guys, these two unexperienced fucking people to come and do a hit.
Yeah,
Uh,
go kill Aemond. If we don't find him, and we never really hear his answer.
yeah. So I think that was a huge thing because that's a hurts her badly because now she's known as the baby killer. It's like you're the
Mhm.
baby killer, kinslayer now. Especially that. So that's horrible to her claim. But it's a little bit of that kind of helps. That kind of little bit that kind of gets toned down because when they do the whole thing, when they gain the sympathy of parading the dead baby around to the small folk, then there's me with Aegon. He fucks up and then he hangs
Yeah, it's
every
like,
single rat catcher.
yeah, it hangs every rat catcher in the city instead of, maybe have Helena point out the rat catcher that she saw.
Yeah, that would have been a smart decision, yeah, and you see and
But
that
it's
leads
but no, you get Kristen Cole and Aegon II in their one brain cell running the Seven Kingdoms.
So you see, who do you think is more detrimental to their cause? You think Damon is more detrimental to his cause? Or you think Aegon is more detrimental?
Uh, Aegon, I think, is just a creature that acts on impulse, where Damon, even though he is impulsive, everything he does, at least in some way in his mind, is for the benefit of his family,
Mm,
or benefit to get back into his family's good graces. Like that whole arc of his war in the Stepstones in the previous season. It was like, yeah, that was, that was a problem that was going to exist for Viserys, and he solved it.
yeah. And you see that there's constant conflict with kind of her. It's like, are you with me? Because it's just a way to,
Mhm.
kind of be close to the throne, or the something that you feel like is yours. Is that why you're kind of
Mhm.
backing me here?
Yeah, and even in this newest episode where you get Damon, who's flying to Harrenhal, which was featured a lot in Game of Thrones, and he's like sneaking through the castle, and he finds the Lord of Harren, the the remaining members of House Strong, just chilling and having dinner. It's like, yeah, we're backing you, my prince, and it's like, it's your grace.
Mm. So, and there's conversations like, is he maybe gonna usurp her? I mean, you have that
Mhm.
between the Valerians. There is like they kind of have that discussion. What's gonna happen? But this was a great scene with Otto and Aegon here. That was really fantastic. I thought it was
Mhm.
really good.
Catch us! Oh, I had them hanged. The maggot who took my son confessed to an accomplice. He could not say for certain which man it was. Idiot!
But what happened to your king, my lord?
The king is my grandson, and my grandson is a fool. He's worse than a fool. He's murdered innocent men.
And one guilty one.
And hanged them from the walls of the city for all to see.
Plot against the king, and I will pay it back 100.
They are fathers and brothers and sons. And their wives and children gather now at our gates to weep and curse your name. With your child's blood, we bought their approval. With your wife's tears, we made a bitter sacrifice against the deprivations to come, and you throw it away. After all I've done for you, thoughtless, feckless.
He is really missing Viserys now.
I mean, yeah. I mean, you see him just kind of tear him to him.
It's like, God. And Otto has a point. It's like, for as kind of vile a character he was, at least in the first season, he was never really wrong. At least with the how he plays politics and how he played the game. And Damon kind of gave them basically the war on a silver platter, at least with the support of the small folk.
Yeah, I mean, he knows how to play the game. He does, and it's
Mhm.
interesting to see him play the game with it and see how he does. Like he said, I had this already lined up. I was planned out.
And
People,
you fucked it up.
we had all this support from people, to fight against Rhaenyra, but now it's yeah. I mean, now you just kind of fuck that all up, and then also Kristen Cole with his genius plan of I'm gonna send Sir Eric's to Rhaenyra to
Sir Eric's twin brother Arik to go kill Rhaenyra. He's pretending to be his own twin.
Yeah, it's like, man, it's genius. It's fucking genius. You know what I mean?
And that and Resiphon's reaction to that, you could feel the entire weight of his life's regrets in his eye rolling.
Yeah,
Like,
I mean,
oh my God, I'm surrounded by idiots.
and he's like, what did he do? It's like, what was the genius plan? He
The fuck?
but he sends, the twin brother out to assassinate Rhaenyra, and you see both of them end up getting killed.
Mhm.
Both the twin brothers.
Yeah, and that's one of the best fight scenes of the entire show. In that, there's never a moment where you can tell which twin is which, and that's intentional in the choreography. Even to the wounds that each brother gets, the other one gets an identical wound.
Yeah. Which I think mirrors the book a lot, because it was like nobody
Mhm.
could jump in because nobody could tell who was who.
Yeah, it's like the rest of Rhaenyra's Kingsguard like went to protect her, but they couldn't tell who.
Yeah, you would think one of them would go like, "Well, now that I'm not like maybe cut my hair, maybe let me shave my beard or something, like just look exactly alike, like do something, maybe get a scar on my face or something like here." Like, yeah, but this was a great one here. See, you see a lot in this season too. People are getting picked off a lot. There's a
Mhm.
lot of deaths so far that we've had. Just
Yeah,
even these 3 episodes.
yeah, it's like if the like latter half the first season was the calm before the storm and like the seeds being planted of the war to come, it's here now.
Yeah. Any death that would kind of in the season 2 that would kind of you think is coming that's going to make you really bummed out?
Uh, for me, because I've read a little bit of the books, I don't want to give it away, but yeah, when Jacaerys finally goes out, I feel like that is gonna bum me out a lot because he is, a very good prince. I really liked his dynamic with because the season opens up back at the Wall and with Winterfell, and you have Tom Taylor playing Lord Cregan Stark, and in the books they have a whole dynamic that is so much fun to explore.
Mm. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. You'll see a lot of people picked off in this show. Best not to get attached too much to anybody here.
This is a book that's finished, so there's no room for the showrunners to give anybody plot armor because they're a fan favorite character.
Yeah. And this show's not supposed to go on, like we said, not for too long, only for a few seasons, maybe 4 at most. So it's going to be a quick one. Like I said, a lot of characters will get ended pretty soon in this show. But I'm loving it. I'm not really noticing the writer strike on this
Mhm.
so far. Hopefully, it continues on a strong run. One of the best shows on TV right now. So yeah,
Yeah.
I'm pretty high on it.
Yeah. As far as like all the great television that we're getting, especially in the month of June, this is like top of my list of I need to check this out now.
Yeah, this is a show that's. I mean, a lot of people are going like, "Hey, I'll watching it week to week." It's driving the conversation online. It's like, man, I gotta watch. What's this new episode? House of the Dragons on, man. I gotta talk about it. Water cooler show. It's probably the
Mhm.
most water cooler show out right now.
Yeah, the water cooler conversation is back thanks to House of the Dragon. I love it.
Yeah. We'll be back when the show ends. I think this only has. I mean, the season only has 8 episodes. I think.
Uh-huh. Both seasons are 8 episodes long.
Yeah. Well, first season had 10 episodes, right?
Oh yeah, it did.
Yeah.
And yeah, season 2 has 8. At least that's what's listed on Wikipedia.
Yeah. So we'll see. Yeah. All right. So we'll be back after August. August 4th is when the last episode is going to be airing here for season 2, and we'll do a whole review there.